Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are premiering. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Malby Styles, Troy Shuker, Bo Snail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick, Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'm going to hand over to Discord and G+, so you can enjoy the conversation of whoever is in there while I set up for today's live show. But before I do, there is actually also a link in the info box below this video to get £50 for swapping your UK energy supplier to Octopus Energy. So check that out at the link in the info box below this video.
Well, I'm just enjoying the conversation. They condensed it real well.
Get them on sound calls and it's all over.
Band, you say?
Hey, Nathan, have you heard that song I made? I threw your name in there about gravity going down, boom, boom, Nathan Oakley. It's pretty funny. A pretty funny bar setup.
A troll video, I think I've seen. If you've seen my comment in it, then yes, I have.
Yeah, I don't know if you had or not comment on it yet.
I haven't heard it. What's this song? Where can we hear it?
On my YouTube. It's funny. I mean, I can just say the lines and see if you can understand it.
Sure.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, feel free.
I say, gravity goes down, boom, boom, Nathan Oakley. Gravity has a new dance, the hokey pokey. Turns itself about, yeah, okie dokie. Because the double speak always meet when you want to tell your story. You know how the double speak, they say gravity holds gases down? It's funny. You have to hear the whole thing.
Yeah, now I want to hear it.
Now I definitely want to hear it, yeah. Is it?
Yeah, I'm going to throw it in the
Yes, if you can throw it in. Yeah, that'd be perfect. Epic. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I threw your picture in there too. I got it off, what was it? Vibe or something like that? A while ago, you did a video. I mean, I did an interview, right? And that was the only photo that popped up of you. Now I couldn't find nothing on you on Facebook or YouTube, so I could have screenshot one, but I like how you were holding your arm up, so I was like, okay, that would fit with it.
Probably the thumbnail from Vice then, with me like dabbing.
Yes, Vice. Yeah, that one. I just put it in the live stream chat.
Anybody in the panel in the live stream chat? Anyone grab it? We'll come to it.
I just finished breakfast. You guys want me to do it now?
Whenever you're ready. There's no rush. I will check it out.
All right, give me a bit.
Thank you.
I think you'll get a kick out of it, especially that part. You'll laugh because the hokey pokey part. I think it's funny. My wife laughed. She was like, "Oh my gosh, you're silly."
One of those things
that
I like about this community the most. It inspires people to do things like that.
Oh, definitely, dude.
Chocolate's not here, but he's a perfect example of that because he's like, oh, I would never intended to be debating this stuff daily. It's like, well, you're about as concise as it gets now in terms of your summary of any argument that's taking place. But he had no intention of doing this. He's just felt inspired to, and then sort of fallen into it, which is great.
Well, you gotta think, dude. You and QE, there's a couple others. You guys put a big impact on when it comes to flat Earth. You gotta think, if it wasn't for you guys, like, certain things wouldn't been known. I mean, I suppose some people would probably eventually it would have went to somebody else or however, but still, man, I mean, you gotta think you guys made a big impact when it comes to the science community in general.
I agree with that, and I don't think anybody else would have picked it up. I think those two are the heavyweights here.
Yeah. I'm just saying by chance, I guess. Supposedly we can speculate.
Nathan?
Yeah, thank you very much, Righteous. I'll play a bit of it now.
Right.
They just can't handle it. Think of the innocent, you're explaining a little bit. You just can't lie to them. Think we will jump ship and school down, boom, boom. Nathan Oakley. Gravity has a new dance, a hokey pokey. Turn yourself about,
I love it.
hokey dokey. So don't speak, always speak when you.
Cool. I'll have a look. I'll have a full listen to it at a later stage, but I'll stick the link into the live stream chat so that people can pick it up when the show
That sounds good.
It does sound good.
I like it.
Yeah. Thanks, I appreciate it. It was just a little run through. I eventually want to now that I have purchased some beats, I will definitely make a way better one.
Do something different.
Anticipation.
Always move forward. Don't look back. Don't polish that one.
Definitely.
It's all good. Thank you very much. I'm enjoying. I'm looking forward to checking it out properly.
Yeah, that's what attracted me. The way you laid down the arguments. I mean, that had me from the first show that I listened to on YouTube.
The necessity because of interruptions. That's the only reason they become concise. Because you're trying to get it in one breath. Interrupt you if you pause to breathe in. They'll interrupt you, so they get more and more concise as a result.
Okay, so Nathan, question: how does radio waves prove a globe? I know you don't believe it. Okay, but this is amazing to me. How does radio waves propagation okay, so I talk to Fight the Flat Earth constantly. This guy comes to me all the time. Radio propagation is excellent evidence for the globe. This is amazing. They believe this stuff.
I don't know, but I would assume that they'll assume a spherical surface and that the radio waves bend around it. That's what they always do. I honestly don't know, though.
Right, but this is the thing. This is not the argument we're having. He's claiming that radio propagation proves the center, the core of a globe.
Now, just assume it. I would argue the opposite, that, you've got point-to-point transmission for things that wouldn't be possible if there was a curved Earth in the way. And I've got an example of that. So a radio engineer called Robin Poe described her time in the forces, and she was out in an area of Italy, an area called Ferrari, where they make Ferraris, and she was linking up relay towers. Now, the book says that they have to be every, I can't remember the exact distance she said, but let's just keep it easy. So let's say it's 20 miles. That's how far apart the relays have to be so the curve of the Earth doesn't get in the way. Of course, right? They need line of sight for these antennas to work, or these transceivers to work. So she's trying to point this antenna or this transceiver at the last relay. There's stuff in the way. She can't get line of sight with it. She can't get a decent signal. So just for kicks and giggles, she points it back at the original antenna, which is 115 miles away. And she gets a perfect line of sight and gets a perfect reception. So she's like, oh, this is brilliant. So she calls headquarters and says, it's working. Now, little does she know that this deviation from the book has got all sorts of bigwigs coming down to meet with her and meet with the powers that should not be above her to tell her, get this taken down immediately. And that's precisely what they do. So her boss has had a word with, and her boss comes to her and tells her, get this down. And she says, well, why? She says, I don't like it. What do you mean you don't like it? She says, take it down. It's not done by the book. I don't like it. So she had to take it down and figure a way of getting the relay to work. Now, she told that story on Flat Earth UK number, I can't remember if it's 6 or 5, something like that. One of the very, very early shows I did. But it was my question to every guest was, how did you find out? And for her, it was reminiscing about that when she came to the subject in more recent times. So in 2014 or whatever it was back then, she came across the subject and instantly remembered that experience, which made no sense to her at the time. And it wasn't phrased or positioned in any way that was to deny that the Earth was spherical or that what she'd achieved was a flat Earth proof. She just didn't give it a second thought in that regard until recently. And then she detailed that, and obviously she said, well, I already knew at some conscious level to some degree, and now I obviously hold that as my proof, because it is. That stuff only works with line of sight, and I got line of sight 115 miles. That's simply not possible if there's an Earth curve physical geometric sphere edge horizon in the way. There wasn't.
Oh, interesting stuff there, man. I was trying to keep up. I was writing this stuff down. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, check out it's Robin Poe.
definitely
If you type in Flat Earth UK Robin Poe, you'll find your way to the interview with her, and she details it. Problem I had when my mother pointed this out after that very interview. She was like, you got to the conclusion point, so she's detailed that to me, but she doesn't explicitly say proving the Earth is flat. She just sort of laughs. So she gives her example. Well, I got a connection at 115 miles. And that's kind of where it ended. And she didn't explicitly say, because nothing's got in the way to block my line of sight, Earth is flat. So I was criticised by my mother over that interview. It's like, you should have said it. My mum's not even a flat earther. She's criticising my...
She's a name? She knows how to close the sale.
But she was just saying it wasn't made explicitly clear. So she got a 115-mile connection. What does that mean? You're like, well, that means that there's nothing in the way. She's like, well, that wasn't said. I was like, okay, my bad. It's like, yeah, you're right. It's not enough to imply these things. And that really did stick with me after she said that to me. Because
Good old mom.
Go on.
How do you spell her name? How's it spelled? I mean,
Poe. Robin, Robin. I think her name is spelt the male way.
Okay, Robin. Poe?
Yeah, Poe.
When I looked into the Loran system in World War II, I believe, during the day from the Atlantic coast of United States, it could work 750 miles very well. And at night, it reached over 1,400 miles in looking towards the east for enemy ships and all kinds of stuff. So where's the curve in the way of that?
Yeah, there isn't any. They assumed that the horizon, a point where your view got limited by the aperture you were viewing it with, they assumed that was a physical obstruction. It isn't. Point that you can't see any further through optical limitations. Doesn't mean that that's the end of the world or an edge for boats to fall over on a sphere.
Well, they're
everybody. Nate,
hey,
have you heard of
Brian? How's it going?
GPS?
Sorry, go on, John.
This is Mr. GPS himself.
GPS is?
Hold on, 10th. Go on, Don.
Do you know what DGPS is?
DGPS?
Yeah, differential GPS.
Fill me in.
It is an enhancement to global positioning system, which is ground-based satellite. It's like a higher, enhances it, and just like what I just said. But he was just talking about Loran. I think that is like an off, like, you know how they take something and just rename it. So if you look into that, just type it into Google or Wikipedia.
Well, they admit to it.
it.
They admit that that military system was expanded out into GPS or GPRS or something like that. But they openly admit that is, an extension and an enhancement on the Loran system.
The DGPS is actually what that is a coverage of. That's what they're doing there. DGPS is GPS. What they're speaking about there is the CORS system, which was put in place for surveyors in the early 90s. About a year or more later, the American military came out claiming that GPS was theirs and it was from satellites in space. But the core system is a ground-based system of towers at high altitudes. And the whole idea is to help with surveying. That was the whole idea. And it was after that it became Garmin sat-navs or whatever. But DGPS is GPS, if you know what I mean.
Help how?
They might be using high-altitude balloons. Sorry, Nathan, you want to say something?
I was saying help how. I just want to know. I'm assuming that when you say help surveyors, you mean help them to beg the question of a sphere prior to them doing any flat measurements. But I don't know. So how does it help them?
Right.
What it does for surveying is that they get all the information they need via GPS directly to wherever they are. So all the location information they need, they get it from these towers. Because before they used to have to go up and get way up high in high altitudes with their tripods and their theodolites and do all kinds of calculations. Whereas once that came in, it changed everything. They put those towers into place, and now they just trilaterate the position of the GPS receivers, and they can work off of that. And the whole system then works. The whole system now works off of Cartesian coordinates. That's why GPS and GNSS have to use Cartesian coordinates, because it's using ground. It's a ground-based system on the ground, and that was put into place. That was like all the information it has, it got from surveying, and all it did was just record all that information basically, and it relays it back to the surveyor as the surveyor needs it. That's why surveyors these days are called button pushers, because they don't do all the things they used to do.
Okay.
Geodetic surveyors.
So you stand in a point on the ground and go, where am I? And triangulate, I assume, right? You use the GPRS towers to triangulate your position. Where am I? I'm here, according to the global positioning system. Right, so therefore, it's done the nasty little task of begging the question of a spherical surface to begin with. Then they move forward and make their Euclidean measurements of a flat plane. Correct?
No. Everything they're getting it in a flat. It's flat out what they're getting. All GPS uses and GNSS, they all use Cartesian coordinates. So everything they're getting is already flat out. It's not till afterwards when they mathematicalize in a globe. So there's no globe involved in GPS.
I'm a bit confused. So it's not like when you refer to Earth-centered Earth fixed as your datum, and then say, well, my zenith points to this point at the center of this presupposed spherical Earth by this datum. They don't do that. The only assumption is that it's global positioning system. Beyond that, the actual system itself is Cartesian. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, GPS uses, I've been trying to say this for ages and ages, but people aren't picking up on it. GPS and GNSS and all these other supposed navigation systems, they all use Cartesian coordinates. So they're all using flat out coordinates. Now, mathematically, all the zeniths are going to the center of an oblate spheroid. Right, mathematically, that's what's happening. And the only reason they do that is so you can get, when you look at your Garmin or you look at your phone, because your phone is second-hand information from these towers to cell towers to you. You get, when you're looking at Google Earth or whatever, you get your coordinates in latitude, longitude, and height, and your elevation is height above ellipsoid. But the original raw coordinates from GPS are Cartesian, not latitude, longitude. It's a mathematical thing where they have it built into the system, where when you look for your coordinates on Google Earth, you get it in latitude and longitude.
Let me get this straight.
Height above ellipsoid.
I knew it was a convoluted gaggle screw. That's how it's got to be with the maps, right? But so you're taking Cartesian coordinates. You're then giving yourself a longitude and latitude position to assume a spherical surface. But that point itself is only in reference to the model in terms of its longitude and latitude position, which you get from the original reference, which is in Google Earth Cartesian. So, in other words, you're taking a flat map with flat measurements, assuming a position in a spherical depiction based on longitude and latitude, so that then you can work on the flat surface that you're actually dealing with. So it's 2 steps from the flat Earth, 1 step from the globe, but in reality what you're actually using, and I use this as an example, they're demonstrating it as flat, and it's measured as flat. There's no elevation changes, there's no drop, there's no curve, because presumably, as you're pointing out, it is actually Cartesian to begin with. There isn't any drop.
Yeah, it starts off as Cartesian. It all starts off, all GPS, GNS, it's all giving you Cartesian. It's just when you get it, it's after being mathematically converted. So when you get it on your Google Earth or whatever, your coordinates have been mathematically converted from Cartesian, because GPS uses Cartesian, uses flat Earth all the time. But they use the ECEF system, where it brings the zenith to the center of a pre-assumed oblate spheroid, but that's only so it can mathematically give you your latitude and longitude, because latitude and longitude is not real. It's only real for navigation of the sky. It's not real for the surface of the Earth, because we don't live on a globe. The whole thing is a big convoluted mess. It's all flat Earth, but they want to keep on giving you the impression that you have a latitude and longitude. If you know what I mean.
Did you want to add to me, Don? But before you do, when someone else is talking, if you can just mute, just so we don't hear you tapping your mic and stuff. Did you want to add something?
One thing to say, for anyone that zooms in or out on Google Earth, Google Earth or Google Maps, wait till you zoom in and zoom out, and you get to the point where you start seeing a grid. You see a grid. That's your real coordinates.
Gotcha.
That's what's really going on.
Go on, Don.
Yeah, I don't know if do you hear that when I mute the mic? I have a mute button on it, so I don't hot mic. That's why I push it.
Yeah, try and use the mute in Discord rather than the mute on the mic, because we just hear it pop in the whole time.
All right, so what I was explaining is it's kind of comparing like geometric survey to, like, don't they use tangent planes for that, right? So what they do is they get a level, or, you know, a flat surface, and just in software automatically creates a globe or a sphere.
Yeah.
Is that what you're getting at when it comes to GPS?
Yeah, that's correct.
May I interject with Brian?
I just want to say one thing, Kent, before you do, to Don there. What they're doing is they're taking the zenith that goes to the center of that tangent plane. Before they put a 4-quadrant, 3-dimensional Cartesian coordinate system around it, they're taking that zenith and pre-assuming that it's going to the center of an oblate spheroid, the WGS84 or the NGS80, whichever. And then that's the mathematical conversion, because they couldn't put all those flat places on a globe, you know, of similar dimension. It just doesn't work. Sorry, Tim.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video is a link to get £50 back for swapping your UK energy supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Brian's Logic, 10th Man, Chocolate Saiyan, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Hello, hello.
Yo, yo.
Hey, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just been joined by Adam Meakin as well. Hello, Adam.
Um,
Hello, Elijah. Hello, everyone else in Discord. Good weekend? Good to know. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curvature?
I was doing my pleasantries whilst on mute, Nathan. So yes, I hope you had a good weekend too.
Nonsense to that.
Nonsense to Adam's weekend, or nonsense to the physical geometric sphere edge horizon?
No, never Adam's weekend.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? Something covered in a few videos over the weekend.
Nonsense again.
apparently, the Globers are confused and think that somehow that's our claim.
Yeah, that's getting straightened out at the moment. So, yes.
We can explain. We can explain how we don't experience axial rotation. That's pretty much as far as the globe can go.
Yeah. Instead, they're claiming that there's unicorns in existence. We say no, there's no evidence of that. And they say, prove there's no evidence of unicorns. How are you saying that we would have unicorns? No, we're not. You are. We debunk it. We don't claim it. Hey, are we?
It's like we're in this weird place where, like, explaining the existence, the non-existence of something somehow confirms its existence. It's a little crazy.
Or denying a claim that they make that we have 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth turns underneath things. That's Coriolis effect. Non-inertial spinning reference frame turning underneath inertial reference frame, so we observe not actual drift from the spinning reference frame, Coriolis effect. Now, we know that they claim Coriolis effect, but when we point out that it doesn't happen, or we ask them to show us that happening, or say, well, Coriolis effect is non-inertial reference frames turning underneath things not attached, they say, we don't claim Earth has a turning underneath effect. You go, well, that's what Coriolis effect is. You don't understand what Coriolis is. Show us why you claim Earth should have things turning underneath. It's like, no, that's your claim that doesn't happen. Not for us to prove that you claim it. You absolutely do claim Coriolis effect. We just show it doesn't happen, and then suddenly it becomes the burden for us to prove that the globe claims it for the fundy that's had it demolished.
Which comes after like 3-4 years of them arguing this point. Like, like have they fallen that far gone? Have they gotten that far, like, just down the cliff? I mean, what's going on, man? Try to get a grip.
It's the old
It's
bait and
2021.
switch.
I used to think that, Neil. I've changed my mind. I used to think bait and switch. They want you to argue the toss about Earth turning underneath so they can deny it and then have you detail how they argue Earth should turn underneath, because then you're effectively putting their argument forward for them. I thought that was what was happening. Too complicated for the mere mortals that come here, if you ask me. What's more likely? That they're convoluting the position of Earth turning underneath to cause Coriolis effect with a claim that Earth doesn't have drift and travels with the atmosphere in violation of the first law of thermodynamics, because they want us to argue their position for them as we detail the actual globe claim, that's Coriolis effect and Earth turning underneath stuff to cause not actual drift, or that they're just in cognitive dissonance and holding two positions simultaneously. Position number one, we have Coriolis effect. That's Earth turning underneath things not attached, and us watching them seem to drift when they're not. That's because we're turning underneath them, that's what Coriolis is. But when it's shown not to happen by a flat earther, go, we don't claim Earth should turn underneath. That's just holding two positions simultaneously. It's just cognitive dissonance. And from here on forward, I'm going to relinquish myself of that bait and switch, or they're trying to introduce an argument where I have to actually put forward the globe argument on their behalf. No, they're not clever enough to do any of that. They're just holding two positions at the same time. Earth does turn underneath to cause drift. Earth doesn't turn underneath, it travels with the atmosphere. That's just two positions held simultaneously.
right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't there be a difference too at like 30 to 40,000 feet in altitude as well? So you should be able to detect that because the gradient is thinner.
No. If you've got
Apparently,
Coriolis
you don't have
effect,
to go
no.
that high. You
Let me
could
just
detect
explain for
it
the guy
from
who
a
asked.
football.
For the guy who asked, right? No. Coriolis effect is an observation of things seeming to drift. So when you say, well, shouldn't there be a great effect as you go up? Well, no. You're observing something that looks like it's drifting because you're turning underneath it, and that's it. So in terms of, well, does the projectile speed up, slow down, etc. when it raises in altitude, lowers, changes position on a non-inertial turning reference frame? None of those things matter. The only thing that matters is that you observe it as you turn underneath it. Well, as you turn underneath it, the effect that induces, or that you observe, is not actual deflection. In other words, it looks like a drone that hovers flies away from you on a roundabout. Well, you're moving away from it. You're turning underneath it. That's Coriolis effect. Likewise, on an Earth that's turning, it is claimed by you, globeheads. Don't be Simon Dan in this scenario and suddenly think this is my claim, right? It is claimed by the globe that it has Coriolis effect, meaning the following. You are claimed to stand on a turning Earth and see things seem to drift because you turn underneath them. Now, that's not my claim. Don't now challenge me to prove these reference frames I've detailed. The globe claims are real, but we don't see the effect of. We point out that we don't see that effect. We're not turning underneath anything. That's not an effect we observe. So don't now make it our claim, because it isn't. We pummel it, you claim it. Don't come here telling us, show us that we claim Earth turns underneath. Yeah, that's Coriolis effect, friends. You don't have to like it. You claim it, we don't.
Right, that's what I was meaning, because they claim lockstep, and I said, well, how is that? You would see the difference in an airplane on Earth.
Yeah, that's not Coriolis, though. Go on, Chocolate.
Exactly.
Go on, Chocolate.
If they're claiming lockstep, they're claiming no Coriolis then. But that's the claim, that they have Coriolis. That would be two reference frames, man. So they already killed their argument right there.
You say to them, look, planes aren't having their flight time shortened. Earth's not turning underneath them for us to observe them seem to drift as we turn underneath them. That's not happening. And they go, we wouldn't expect to see drift. So they simultaneously hold two positions simultaneously. They don't have an effect. They don't have Earth turning underneath anything. They assume it happens and will occasionally give an example with things like a football or a sniper's bullet in the air for a few seconds, as they absolutely assert that Earth is turning underneath it. But then when you say, well, Earth would turn underneath an airplane, it's also in the air, it's also left the ground. They argue for why we wouldn't see 15 degrees an hour drift. Just cognitive dissonance. You can't hold both positions simultaneously, but they do when we show it doesn't happen. But for clarity, the globe claims Coriolis effect. That's the claim. It just doesn't happen. When we point out it doesn't happen, they, on the globe side, tell us, prove we claim Coriolis. That's what they tell us. They drift. Nah, they travel together. They don't drift. Well, you're claiming Coriolis, that's drift. No, they travel together. Let's argue about how they don't drift. Because they're holding both positions. It's just that simple.
But see, the thing about the Globers is they are actually not arguing for the Coriolis effect. They're arguing for what we know as globiolis. Because in their globiolis, the Earth is turning underneath things, but it's also not turning underneath things. So they can show that the Earth turned underneath something mathematically when it suits them. But we'd never see this happening. It's that kind of a big convoluted mess, because it was pointed out a few decades ago that we don't observe the Coriolis effect, so they mutated the whole thing. But the Globers are actually arguing for blue when we're arguing for red for the past several years. Whereas they think they're arguing for red, but they don't realize they're arguing for blue. If you don't understand what I mean. They're completely convoluted and messed up. They don't know what the Coriolis effect is, so they're arguing for something completely different that has no relevance in reality. It's purely
That's the
mathematical.
word I was using.
That was
Yeah,
the
they
word I
call
was
it
gonna use.
conservation of angular momentum.
But it's not.
Coriolis
It's
effect.
not
That's
even
not
the conservation of
Coriolis.
angular momentum, Rams.
That sounds like blah 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 excuse why we don't see this effect. That's actually our claim that we do see. That's
Yeah.
all that sounds like.
Their claim, let's get it clear, their claim is we do have drift. What's drift? Well, one thing drifting away from another. Well, in this instance, with an example of a hovering drone on a roundabout, you move away from it because you're turning underneath it on a roundabout. Well, that's drift. You moving away from it. So we should be moving away from stuff that's not attached to the Earth. That's their claim. Now, when we go, look, Earth's not moving away from an aeroplane in the air. They go, we wouldn't expect to. Why would you think we've got 15 degrees an hour Coriolis effect? Whatever gave you that idea? We don't see drift. They're travelling together. No drift. You go, what happened to the 15 degrees an hour drift? We wouldn't expect to see it. Prove to me we say we should. No, you do. You say Earth has Coriolis effect. That's drift. Nah, drift is them moving together. What? That's what we get. Just two positions held simultaneously. Any more to add on Coriolis effect before we move on?
Yeah.
Drift.
What Don, I think it was Don said that when you go up higher in an airplane, where you're at a thinner, when the air is thinner and there's less pressure or whatever, then there should be more of a deviation there or whatever than there would be just hovering off the ground in their belief of what, right? But they will just say then, oh no, you have to go right up into space, you know, this kind of thing. So they can never support their claim, ever. Their claim is purely mathematical. They can never support it because their claim is not real. So all you could ever support it with is maths and diagrams. That's all.
Yeah. Bottom line, they claim Coriolis. Show us it happening. Show us things on Earth drifting away from one another because Earth's turning underneath, because that's what Coriolis is. Neil deGrasse Tyson asserts that that's what happens as a ball gets kicked from the field to make a goal. He says Earth turns underneath it. That's what causes the not actual deflection he said he saw from the stands. Because he's turning underneath the ball, it looks like it curves and goes through the goal. Well, that's Earth turning underneath the football. Exactly as claimed, that's Coriolis effect. Or snipers that have to lead their target because according to the fundies, they say Earth turns underneath the bullet. Until you point out that it doesn't turn underneath a drone, doesn't turn underneath a helicopter, doesn't turn underneath a hot air balloon, doesn't turn underneath an aeroplane, doesn't turn underneath you if you jump up and down, doesn't turn underneath anything that's in the air for a significant period, and they suddenly hold the other position. We shouldn't see 15 degrees an hour deviation. In fact, they'll go as far as Simon Dan and tell me that you and your reference frames are ruined. I don't have any reference frames to claim. Coriolis requires 2 of them. You need to prove they actually happen. And when we show they don't, you're going to tell us the reference frames are debunked? Well, wonderful, because you need them to claim that we've got drift that we don't see. Adam, did you want to present something?
Well, they have a myriad of ways to not actually answer the question, and that's why we can still, have hours upon hours of debate because we allow them to answer questions that we've never asked. Like what Brian just said, like all they do is convolute the argument. Because you ask them, okay, there's a rotating platform that you're standing under that's curved, and we don't see any deviation. They don't ever actually address that point. They'll just say no, and no is sort of a way to reset the conversation, and then they'll answer a question that you've never asked. Same thing with the black swan. You want to keep them on the horizon. Yeah, but refraction. Yeah, but the everything else other than the actual argument. I'm getting tired of it.
Yeah, they're a shape-shifting moving target.
I like the refraction though. That's a concession to the argument. So yeah, keep saying refraction, Globers.
Well, this fits under one of the symptoms. So Adam's got them up on screen now. That would be a feeble attempt at distraction.
And see, we did this for Christmas, didn't we? But it still holds very true. That's why I put it up as you were describing the attempts they're all summarised nice and neatly as common symptoms of Coriolis virus. So
The one on the toilet's great, man.
That's what this one is. A feeble attempt at distraction. Ask you a question about something that's unrelated. new normal reversal is to assert that you've got Coriolis effect. What's Coriolis effect? On a turning Earth, it's 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth turns underneath things in the inertial reference frame that have left the non-inertial spinning reference frame you're observing them from, to cause not actual deflection. That would be things drifting away from you. Not because a drone can hover at 1,000 miles an hour does it drift away from you at 1,000 miles an hour, because on the equator it's claimed Earth turns underneath things not attached at 1,000 miles an hour. Now that effect doesn't happen, and when you point out as a flat earther to a globehead that does not happen, they will tell you that we wouldn't expect to see drift. That's new normal reversal. And when you point out that, well, Neil deGrasse Tyson says Earth turned underneath a football to make a field goal, they say, no, the priest's wrong. Earth and atmosphere move together, no 15 degrees an hour Coriolis effect. Tyson's wrong. That would be globe blasphemy, or doctoral denial of globe priests.
Just on what Rams said there earlier, Rams, I know they claim that what they're claiming as the Coriolis effect is the conservation of angular momentum. Now, for a start, as you know, that's the complete opposite from the Coriolis effect, right? But they're not even claiming the conservation of angular momentum, because they are measuring angular rate, angular velocity, and angular momentum in linear miles per hour differentials, and that's what they're doing. So they'll take the distance around the equator and the distance 30 degrees north or south and say, well, that's a different distance around. So you'll only retain the conservation of where you of miles per hour momentum of where you leave on the globe. So
Stop. So when you leave the non-inertial spinning reference frame, no, that's not Coriolis, because Coriolis is observed from the non-inertial reference frame. So what they do is they start detailing what the projectile will do. It's nothing to do with what the projectile will do, because you observe Coriolis as you spin underneath things. It's the only way to get Coriolis. You attached and turning underneath. So they start detailing what the projectile's doing as it changes its linear velocity when they're describing an effect with angular momentum. Yeah, the projectile's nothing to do with it. Absolutely, unequivocally observed from a turning reference frame. If you've left it in the example while they detail the projectile, well, then you're not observing Coriolis because you're not turning underneath things anymore.
Exactly. It's an observation, correct?
That's what I call the okey doke.
But that's what they do. That's what exactly. That's Nathan is spot. That's exactly it. As soon as you leave, they're talking about the thing that's after leaving the rotating reference frame all the time, and they're giving it a miles per hour momentum, and they're making a mathematical deviation out of that. That's all they're doing.
You know who pointed that out to me? Zanuck. Yep, Zanuck. So I said you can leave an inertial and move to a non-inertial reference frame. And he's like, no, you can't. You can't leave reference frames. I'm like, I'm Miley fucking Cyrus. I can get off a pendulum. Yeah? You can change reference frames. Then he said, I can't remember if this is paraphrasing or an exact quote, Coriolis effect is only observed from the non-inertial reference frame. That's not verbatim, it might be paraphrased, but a quote from Zanuck. I was like, of course it is. To observe Coriolis, you've got to be turning underneath. When they say, no, we don't claim Earth turns underneath. It's like, that's what Coriolis is. You turning underneath. Literally all it is.
He tried to confuse people by saying, well, if the ball leaves the merry-go-round, if it's still in your eyesight, then it hasn't left the reference frame. That's how he tried to confuse people. Oh, so it's still in your eyesight, it's still in your view, but it hasn't left the reference frame because it's still in your view, even though it's not attached to the non-inertial reference frame anymore.
But that's when Virus came in and said he left his pants, but was still in.
Well, you're screwing with the timeline a bit there. You're playing fast and loose with actually how things occurred in order. But no, and yes, he did say that. But no, not after Zanuck pointed that out.
That was before Zanuck pointed out. I remember that show clearly. He stuck his foot in his mouth, and it's never been the same since.
I wasn't saying in order of. I'm just saying Virus made the same claim by saying, well, I left my pants, but I'm still there in them, or whatever he said. It was like, what? That sounds like what Zanuck was trying to do.
Indeed. But what the point you need to take home if you're a flat earther arguing this is, Coriolis effect can and only is observable from a turning reference frame. You want a roundabout looking at things not on the roundabout. You want a turning earth looking at things not on a turning earth. And the effect that you see because you're turning underneath them is Coriolis. The moment you get into a wrangle-dangle argument about how a projectile has speed changes as it changes latitude, who cares what the projectile's doing? Coriolis is a detailed description of what you observe things seem to do because you turn underneath them. So if you example it with a roundabout, you can say if I observe a tree from a roundabout, the tree looks like it's coming towards me and going away, coming towards me and going away. That's Coriolis effect. The not actual deflection of the tree. Now, it doesn't mean to say that if the tree had a branch low enough to dangle over the roundabout, you wouldn't smack into it. But not because the tree's coming towards you, because you're moving towards it. So to observe Coriolis in the tree, you need to be turning towards it. And the actual effect that you will observe is you smacking into it because you're turning underneath it. Not because trees' branches are the, whatever it is in Harry Potter, the Whomping Willow. No, trees don't do that. But you turning underneath them will bring you towards them or move you away from them. And likewise, that effect called Coriolis effect would be observable on a turning Earth. You'd launch your drone and go, no, it's zooming away 1,000 miles an hour. It's just hovering, though. According to the globe Earth claim, you turn underneath it to observe it drifting away. At 1,000 miles an hour on the equator, that's 15 degrees an hour. So we don't observe that effect. It doesn't happen. And when we say it doesn't happen, what do we hear them cry? We wouldn't expect to see it drift. Even though that's the claim that the globe Earth has to prove it's spinning. We're supposed to see drift, and we don't. So they argue about why we don't see drift, when you're supposed to see it on a turning Earth, holding both positions simultaneously. I've said that 2 or 3 times to try and round this on to the next housekeeping question. Any more on this particular subject? Then I'll plug my show that comes out at 11:15 tonight UK time.
Yeah.
Isn't
Neil deGrasse.
Go on, Elijah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson made himself look really silly when he stated that about the football. That's all I got to say.
Gotta disagree with you. That is just their claim, though. He didn't make himself silly. He affirmed the actual globe claim. We observe from the stands the ball curved through the goal because Earth's turning underneath it. That's the claim. That's what Coriolis is. It's just that simple.
He solidified it.
Right. But we don't observe that at all whatsoever because they will double speak. They'll go, well, this works. But no, you can't get it from a drone or a plane or a helicopter or a balloon. But this will do that, but that won't.
Yeah, we covered that.
But
That's
why do you think they struggle
they-
so much whenever we ask them, well, where do we see this in reality? Like just the other day, the
But-
other guy was like, well, a lot of stuttering and stammering, couldn't decide where to see this in reality. But Smoking the Grass Tyson tells you real quick, well, I was just watching television and I could just get up and do a quick calculation as to how this football deviated because the ground underneath rotated, right? So it should be that simple. But it's not.
Yeah, it's not.
They don't argue it. That's why
it's not
they throw him under the
because
bus.
Because if there was a blimp filming the game, and it's claimed that Earth takes a 1/4 inch deflection to the right as Earth turns underneath the ball, therefore the field goal is made, well then that example is massively exaggerated if you're hovering above the game filming it in a blimp. Earth's going to be continually turning underneath it, like it's claimed to be turning under the ball because it's left the ground. But the blimp doesn't experience that effect, neither do hot air balloons or drones or aeroplanes or helicopters or anything else that's in the air for any significant amount of time. So we use him as a hostile witness because they deny their own claim when we point out it doesn't happen. No, Earth and atmosphere travel as one, they tell us. Therefore, no drift. Well, you're getting an example from Neil deGrasse Tyson of the ball drifting. A deflection is the not actual deflection you observe from the stand. Coriolis effect.
This is
That's
where
why I said it's silly. That's why I said it's silly because only flat earthers that use actual science will notice that it's just it's funny. It is. It really is.
Well, that's what they're saying the sun is. You know,
Go on, Adam.
It's moving.
I was just saying this is how and where the priests get to make their statement. Like Neil, he gets to make these statements. It's taken from some of his scripture and he quotes it. and gives it to the masses. The trouble is, obviously, is it forces symptoms 1 and 4. They're forced at trench level to go into self-contradiction and to maintain their position against a flat earther's argument. They've got no choice but then to go into the globe blasphemy and deny the obvious statements that their priests have just made, because they can't agree with them, because it forces them into that contradiction again. So they're forced into blasphemy.
Yeah, because Tyson's he doesn't have to debate it.
Yeah.
Right? He can just state it and have some talking head, like whatever that guy's name is that's on Star Talk with him all the time. Just say, yeah. You know, everything you say is great. It's wonderful. Right? He's never going to have anybody challenge that. That's why he can say it. And that's why the people that are challenged on it, they throw him under the bus hard and fast.
I think
Nathan,
Or they'll argue
Nathan,
that
you
we're
recall
misinterpreting
the
them.
guy that,
Hold on, I got 3 people. I had Rams first, then 10th, then Elijah. Go on, Rams.
Or they often argue that you're misinterpreting what they've said. That's the other way they'll go.
Or demand that you give a citation for their claim. Ultimately, just a burden of proof reversal fallacy. You've got to now prove my claim is actually my claim because you've disproved it. Go on,
I was going to say the other day, that guy came on and you gave him the roundabout example. And he took the roundabout example and he says, yeah, the outer rim speed of the roundabout is more area to cover. So you're moving faster. But if you go to the middle of the roundabout, it's a much slower speed. And you nailed him on it, because you said, well, that's not Coriolis. We're talking about a not actual drift that should be taking place. So they've changed the argument to the outer rim and the inner part of a roundabout spinning, rather than the Earth spinning underneath things.
Yeah, well,
Correct. Well, that was actually QE that caught that, and it was QE that held him to task on it. Detailing speed changes has nothing to do with you observing things not actually drifting, only seeming to because you turn underneath, because that's what Coriolis is. Nothing to do with speed changes on a roundabout. That show actually comes out tonight, so I've already scheduled it with the trailer for it, and the trailer I also released. So check it out. Be here or be sphere. It's at 11:15 UK time, after the most recent, or just before the weekend's Uncut and After show that goes out on my second channel. So at, let me get it right, I think it's 9 PM UK time, the Uncut and After show goes out on Nathan Oakley channel, and then when that finishes at 11:15 PM on the main channel, Nathan Oakley 1980, is just that section, i.e. that guy's debate for the last, 30 minutes, maybe a bit longer, of the Uncut and After show 1347, I'm going to say. Anyway, that's being trimmed out and it will be rebroadcast tonight.
I thought you did really well there, Nathan, on that one, because it was a good example of what they're discussing Coriolis, and he's desperate. He's trying to set up those analogies on the roundabouts to try and turn Coriolis into Globiolis, and you never let him get anywhere near it. You kept him on Coriolis, even though he was trying to mutate it into Globiolis, so he could then have his differential nonsense. Yeah, I think it was a bit longer than half an hour, wasn't it? It was a good session.
But it seemed longer because Virus started off by, kicking off and double speaking his way around the fact that he claimed Coriolis effect and then couldn't actually show it and had to double speak his way around it. So that went on for about 20 minutes. And then the guy followed up after a virus. He's like, what's being talked about here? What's being claimed? He's like, immediately launches into establishing what we understand the claim is of Earth and it having drift. It's like, why are we detailing our understanding of your claim? Why aren't you just showing it us? Well, because it doesn't happen.
I think, but most of the problem is that they don't even understand their claims, because at some point he started saying, I believe he was saying, well, what do you mean? Do you mean the drift, or do you mean the Coriolis? Not understanding that's what the hell the drift is called. Globers, the apparent deviation, that's called the Coriolis effect. That's what we're talking about.
And eventually
it's visual drift, not actual drift.
Yeah, but eventually we got to that, though. We got to the point where he's got two different positions simultaneously. Well, we don't say that everything should have Earth turning underneath it. It's like, oh, right, well, where's this reference that says Earth has sometimes got Coriolis effect, but sometimes doesn't? He's like, well, no, I don't have a reference for that. It's like, yeah, because it's a contrasting position. You can't have Earth with Coriolis effect and Earth not with Coriolis effect, even though you want to argue for why Earth doesn't have Coriolis effect, because it doesn't have it. Even asked me at one point, can I argue against that? So it's pointed out that Earth's claim to be turning underneath stuff at 15 degrees an hour to cause Coriolis effect. He said, well, I'd like to argue against that, please. Like, what? Your globe argument that you're supposed to actually prove, you want to argue against that? Yeah, I do, yeah. Because I don't think we claim that. It's
Did
like,
you
what?
hear me in the back? I was like, yes, please argue against that. Go ahead. Go ahead and debunk your own claim. Sure, we'll listen.
It's an interesting fact that when that happens, someone says, yeah, but your Army field manuals that you state, you have to adjust for Earth turning underneath the military round that's being fired. So what are you arguing against?
That they travel together, no drift, no drift. And then they want you to cite it. You know, it's a useful opportunity for me to point out how stupid Scientism is. Because Scientism didn't understand what Coriolis effect was, to the point where, when I detail what the globe claims, he told me that the reference frames used to describe Coriolis effect were debunked. It's like, you don't appreciate that is your claim on the globe, that you need to show drift with 2 reference frames. But when I highlight that that is a globe claim that doesn't happen, you tell me the reference frames we're debunking are debunked. Well, thank you very much, Scientism. Yeah, we agree, you and your reference frames are ruined. There is no drift. Maybe give us another example of a man not drifting on a trampoline. Because that's really useful to show how people don't drift.
And
Go on,
that's why I
whoever that
was
is.
trying to jump in earlier. People don't realize what the people here in the trench level is actually saying. Like, because they're saying that the earth is moving, but the reason that we don't experience it, because here on earth, including the atmosphere up into wherever people believes it ends, is actually moving with the earth. So like, if you have a drone that's hovering over the earth, it's actually also traveling with the earth, even though it doesn't appear to be doing anything at all. I think people would think that that was absurd if you was telling them, hey, the atmosphere, everything that you experience is surface winds from different directions. How could that be happening when you think that for some reason, gas, which has no intermolecular bonds, is just traveling with something that's spinning forever? Why?
And meanwhile, if they're travelling together, they're not drifting apart.
Well, this is where Rumpus came in and said, when you're in a train going 80 miles an hour, a closed system, is that what you believe the Earth is? They're in trouble.
Sorry, Nick.
No, go on.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut on the end there. It's all, everything they do is, like, especially the Coriolis argument is the best globe flat argument there is, because it shows up what they have to do. They have to convolute not only the actual Coriolis effect, but the conservation of angular momentum, and do everything they can mathematically possible to not concede that we don't observe the Coriolis effect. They have to do their best to come up with a whole completely different version of this, and that's actually globiolis. Because as has been said on the show a few times recently, as soon as they concede to any of it, the globe is over. So if even one of them concede, that is Coriolis effect, we don't observe it, that's that. They can't, that's that. Then they're on a stationary, they might believe they're on a globe, but they're on a stationary globe. That changes everything. It's like Jenga, isn't it? You keep pulling out those blocks, something's going to fall. And that's the problem. They can't concede to anything, because as soon as they make any concession about anything, the globe is over for them. So we're fighting against it's not argument against argument. Our arguments win all the time. It's us trying to get them to concede that reality is not what they think it is.
It can't be done. It can't be done. So in that regard, we're just appealing to the audience, and I've said this many, 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 many times. What we are selling isn't going to get bought by our opponent, but the example will be heard by the audience of them having absolutely no humility, refusing point blank to accept when they've lost their argument, reasserting their argument for a circle jerk chant session when it's been taken to pieces, holding but two positions at the same time, having both positions pointed out to you, and then being told that you don't understand, even though you've demonstrated that they're holding two positions and highlighting those two positions, repeating their two positions back to them. You get told you don't understand and that you need to hear the positions again. You know, that's very telling for an audience, but you're never going to get them to say, yeah, I get it. I can't both claim Earth and atmosphere travel as one to give no 15 degrees an hour deviation. That's a Coriolis effect. And Earth has Coriolis effect, as is claimed to prove it's been. I can't hold both positions because they can't both be true. But I will hold both positions, and when you point out that one's wrong, I'll hold the other one. When you point that's wrong, I'll demand you prove that's a claim I make.
Yeah, because concession means concession. Once they concede to anything that we put forward, especially in the housekeeping questions, even one concession from any of them on that, and their whole world starts to crumble immediately. Well, the world they believe they're on.
I thought concession was snacks in the back.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what we have to
All
say
that's
to them,
about
but they won't accept it. But like I say, those words aren't for that person, they're for the audience.
Sounds a lot like we've never seen the geometric horizon.
Yeah, another position held simultaneously, that you have fundies demanding that you don't understand refraction, 7/6 of a presupposed radius value that we've debunked with the black swan if you can't derive an R value from a physical horizon because you're claiming it's refracted. Yeah, we understand. And we point that out, and they tell us that we don't understand. That it's refracted. Non-physical. I like it. I like watching their cognitive pain because it is so telling for the audience. I was going to say entertaining, but I find it far more educational than entertaining. When I listen back to the shows, I think, yeah, that's got more concise. I want this argument to be shorter.
Well, what they do is they go to other channels and start slipping in the 7/6R there, and they slip it in very subtly. And what they'll do is they try and fight arguments that are happening on this channel over there with what's the term, Nathan, where there's like little messages being given to people, or but they don't know the message. It's like done through advertising. What's the term for that, Nathan?
Subliminal
Subliminal.
messaging.
Subliminal?
Yeah, subliminal. Yeah. They actually use that. I've heard some of the barrel ballers use that on other channels, saying little things just every time this particular argument comes up. 2 or 3 of them will say the same kind of thing, or will say a couple of words, and it's all trying to get into people's heads. It's like a little subliminal thing against the arguments that are happening on this channel.
I think it's more of a foundational issue. They come here, and we don't put up with begging the question whatsoever. And the whole globe, any claim from the globe is first based on begging the question. So they come here, they get slaughtered. They go to these other channels where they do put up with begging the question, and they get a little bit of life, and their pulse starts, working, and they get a heartbeat there. But when they come here, they get pummeled.
Yes, but what happens is they slip it in nice subtle sometimes on these other channels, and they do it at a time when the emotions are high, so it's not noticed. So people end up arguing the very thing they want people to argue, without people even realizing that the 7/6R, let's say, for instance, has been slipped in there, and that they're actually arguing within a begging the question fallacy. They actually don't even realize it because the person does it. Rumpus will do it, Ruhif, all these people will do it, and they'll do it subtly, and it's timed. It's timed when they do it. So the argument goes down the pathway they want it to go, where they always have a chance.
Well, they have to do that because it's too much pain. The cognitive dissonance that they get to meet here on this show is so much pain. They need to go and alleviate that pain. So they subliminally do the begging the question. The other stations fall for it. And now they're talking everything except the thing that caused the pain. So it's a little relief. It's a little ibuprofen for the ballers to do that, I think.
Well, I actually heard something. There was an argument being made on one of the channels there recently, and I heard the argument was actually taken apart by optical drop, but nobody talked about optical drop. But one of the ballers, I won't say which one of the well-known ballers, slipped in, and it's nothing to do with parallel, which is the very thing that causes optical drop, right? And they slipped it in without anyone even mentioning optical drop. They slipped it in. It was to do with the tightness of angle of view to the bottom of something. And they weren't even talking about that. They were trying to talk about the angular size of the thing. And the thing about it is they slipped in. It's nothing to do with the parallel. It's nothing to do with parallel. One of them slipped in. Like, it's like a little message. It's like, before anyone ever got to even argue the point of where we'll get to optical drop, in case anyone was likely to argue that, they threw in, it's nothing to do with parallel. So straight away, they're cutting the legs out from underneath an argument before it starts. Or that's their attempt, you know, that kind of thing.
But that's what you and me are saying. They have to do that because they have to steer it that way in order for the begging the question to take effect.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. As flat earthers, we are passionate about this, and we are more likely to get defensive and get angry before them. They are normally the cooler customers who just go around in circles. But behind the scenes, they are not cool. They act in the debate. They act like the cool customers. But all they have to do is keep going around in the circle. That's all they have to do. So it doesn't matter what words they use, as long as they keep going around in a circle. Whereas we're trying to get to the center of that circle and obliterate it. Whereas they just keep going around in a circle. So we end up coming across as more the aggressive, more the defensive, but that's because we are trying to be honest, whereas they're not trying to be honest. They're just trying to avoid.
Well, I see it a little different. I see it that we're using logic and not violating logic, and they are violating logic, and they look like a fool.
Yes, and I'm sure they have more sleepless nights than we have to deal with this subject.
Oh, for
you know what I
certain.
mean? But,
yeah, without doubt.
Yeah. But in the debate, they can sound like they're cool. Go on.
I was just gonna say I sleep like a baby. Nathan, do you want to play that
They feel
little
happy and
that little video that I put in the chat the other day? Just a nice little concession from a baller.
Which chat was that, and where do I find it in Yes I Can?
Gosh, give me a second.
Okay, go on, Rams.
a lot of the ballers feel happy and safe in the knowledge that they're on the side of the world consensus. Although we realize how meaningless that really is, they find comfort in it.
Again, I don't want to be disagreeable with you. I think it's the other way around. In other words, they fear the rejection that an acknowledgement of these arguments would leave them with. They suddenly wouldn't be standing with consensus, and I think that idea terrifies them.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, I agree with that.
But they'll say, well, nobody thinks you're right. The majority agree with me. I'm on the side of consensus. Like somehow that will bring them comfort. Yeah, that's true. Doesn't make you right, though. And we can prove how you're wrong. And as you say, none of us have got sleepless nights over this. None of us give it, well, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody. After the show's done, I give it little to no consideration beyond the statistics of YouTube. Obviously, I've got my 100% full passionate flat earth hat on while I'm doing the show. But after it, I'm not worried about how some argument went. Far from it. Because it makes no difference to me. I'm not going to ever climb back over the blue pill wall. It's impossible to do, you know, once you've realised the nature of your reality. And you've been, in my case, spent 4 or 5 years with people presenting absolutely no evidence and then moving on to demolishing the claim they use as a straw man that we don't understand science. Turns out they don't have any science. There's absolutely no proof whatsoever that we live on a spinning sphere flying through a sky vacuum. In fact, many of those concepts for that philosophy stand directly in violation of natural law. It's absurd to think you are on a ball. So am I going to go to sleep thinking, oh God, I stand on the position that stands in direct contradiction to the Western world's view that they're on a sphere? No, I feel very much relieved that I'm not on that nonsense merry-go-round anymore. Thank you very much.
I've never felt personally comfortable being on the side of consensus. There's always felt something wrong about it.
Can I give an example of that? Remember back in the day when the consensus was no one believed in germ theory of any kind, so doctors rarely, if ever, washed their hands between one operation to another. And then someone stood up and said, "Hey, I think we ought to clean the instruments between operations and wash our hands," and he was laughed at.
Nathan, I put that video in Ballbusters.
Nightingale
Yeah.
and Pastor. Which video in Master B, did you say?
Ballbusters.
Ballbusters, okay.
But it's funny,
Yeah, I
actually,
think-
that the ballers use the same argument when they talk about how stupid the first people that claimed the Earth was a ball were accused of being stupid. So it's a funny one.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous that they use consensus on flat earthers. Because if we were worried about consensus, we wouldn't be flat earthers. Because consensus is all you'll be getting attacked with. So those who aren't flat earthers or those who won't come out as flat earthers are worried about consensus. We're not.
They
His
they
name
can't
is
help
Indio,
themselves.
unorthodox Indio.
Oh, that was India?
No, we can't tell.
Yeah, that was Indio. Dude.
Unorthodox
Wait,
and
wait,
Indio. Unorthodox and Indio. Yeah.
So, how does a boat disappear in 500 feet when the globe model predicts the horizon is 2,600 feet away? So, what's blocking the boat if it's not at the horizon yet?
I don't see anything blocking the boat. I see the resolution. I see the camera being unable to resolve the boat.
Welcome to Flat Earth.
Welcome to Flat Earth, my friend.
quick
Snacks
question.
in the
Snacks in the
back,
back.
bathrooms to the left, DJ's taking requests, and smoke them if you got them. Welcome,
I wish I
unorthodox.
could, but it
Unorthodox.
doesn't disappear. It just
You
unresolved.
you just snatched your own wig off. Unorthodox.
Look, this video I just
The myriad of things that
Awesome.
can cause stuff to disappear from bottom up in the distance. And when it happens prior to the assertion that there should be a physical geometric sphere edge blocking your view from bottom up, it's asserted by unorthodox, the globe-believing fundamentalist religious zealot, well, that's just angular resolution. It's like, all right. But when it happens in coincidence with your maths that removes all aspects of that optical phenomenon, you're going to say it's Earth curve. Well, yeah, of course. I can beg the question, right?
Quick question,
No
Nathan.
coincidence that was the same guy that showed up here and said after the Black Swan. But you forgot about optics, guys.
We forgot
Like,
about our own
yeah.
argument that we pummel yours with for its lack of optics. Yeah, we forgot all about that. Maybe throw optics at us when your maths doesn't include them. Wonderful. Wonderful rebuttal, unorthodox. You're as dumb as Simon Dan. Maybe what next? Tell us that my reference frames are ruined for Coriolis? Clown. Who is it that was trying to ask me something from Discord? Go ahead.
Yeah, looming and refraction. Would you agree with me that it doesn't have a limit?
Looming?
Well, yeah, looming and refraction. I mean, there's a lot of atmosphere and weather conditions, but would you agree with me there is no limit?
I don't know.
Can I answer that?
Oh, free. Go ahead.
Thanks. Liu Ming, would you define it for us, please?
Well, I
Liu
mean,
Ming in particular.
when okay, so I'm not arguing the globe at all because on a globe on a fixed horizon, there would be a limit. I've observed there is no limit because, you know, we got like 5 miles away. It used to be 3 miles, boats disappear the curve. They just keep moving the goalpost and keep saying refraction. So there's no limit then.
Yeah, but
looming,
Liu
I'm
Ming,
saying
see, they're claiming Liu Ming a long time, but Liu Ming is not what they claim. Their claim of Liu Ming involves a physical geometric horizon.
Right. And what I'm saying is looming as in
the actual effect of what they're calling Liu Ming is actually just the sky miraging onto the water, giving the effect of a closer horizon than apparent horizon than is really there, as the actual apparent horizon is actually behind the object. So their version of what they call Liu Ming, it's kind of standing on your question a little bit, but I just want to be I just want to be precise about it. What they're calling looming doesn't exist. Because
Right,
not only
right.
would that
What I'm saying,
require a physical geometric horizon, but it would also require
right.
a completely different thing from what they even claim. Sorry.
You're a moron, Brian, an absolute moron. You've no idea what
Right.
you're talking about.
When you have a wait a minute.
Describes
So what's the
object
definition of
in
looming?
reference to the horizon, not the horizon itself.
Right. Wait a minute. What I'm saying is, if you have a small amount, like a very, very minute amount of looming, that could affect the distortion
What's
and make
looming?
your observation appear that you're seeing the half of the boat disappearing.
Yeah, but what's looming? Rumpus is really the person who should define this. Rumpus, would you give us the official definition of looming in accordance with your model, please?
Well, looming is the raising up of things above their geometric position due to refraction in the atmosphere caused by the fact that
what would be their normal
the
geometric
atmosphere is
position?
denser at the ground level than it is at the top level. That leads to light bending down, which causes things to appear higher than they geometrically
with respect
are.
to the
Jesus
horizon.
Christ! Stop
Stop
interrupting me.
interrupting.
I was there. I've nearly finished. Finished now, idiot.
Yeah, what's their geometric position? You said with their normal geometric position. What's their normal geometric position?
Well, the normal position is if their geometric position in 3D space. They appear
No, that's
not to
not the
be
official.
at
That's
their
not the
geometric
official
position in 3D space
definition
because
of
light
looming
is
according to your model.
because light doesn't travel in straight lines through the atmosphere. It is bent due to refraction, and that causes things to be raised up
Hang
in the
on.
normal standard refraction case.
You are begging the question of a physical geometric horizon here,
Correct.
but
His
you're not
refractions
admitting.
are based. So
Nothing to do with horizons. It's got nothing to do with horizons.
Oh, has it not? Because I've got a quote from the Rumpus that says, and I quote verbatim, "You know it's looming because of its position with respect to the horizon." That is a direct verbatim quote from Rumpus.
It has a
No,
lot to do,
looming happens
actually.
to everything. It doesn't have to be beyond the horizon. It can be this side of the horizon, the other side of the horizon.
Not according
the bending of
With respect
hemispheres
to the horizon.
Calm down,
everything you
guys.
look at, is raised up slightly due to standard refraction. Obviously, you can have non-standard refraction,
Which
but in
involves
the
a physical
standard case,
geometric
everything
horizon.
you look at, including the thing
Standard
200
refraction
yards
is
away
based
from
off of a
where you
physical
are,
geometric
outside your
horizon,
front
is it
door,
not?
is raised up by a small amount, and the further the object is away, the
Is
more it's
standard
raised up.
refraction based off a physical geometric horizon, Rob?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, R based.
It's got
yeah,
nothing
we've
to do
debunked
with
that.
horizons.
Yeah, we've
Nothing to
debunked
do with
that.
horizons.
Yes, it
We've
does.
debunked that.
Yes, the calculation.
No, it doesn't.
We've debunked that.
Standard. Well, you need to differentiate between standard refraction, which is a form of lower scale looming, and then when you get greater and greater refraction, then you have what Andrew Young would say was looming, and then you can, if it goes even further, then you can have what you regard as extreme looming.
Yeah, they're all based on.
Involves a physical geometric horizon.
Yeah, they're all based on R.
Correct.
On a fixed horizon, you will have a limit.
Nothing to do with horizon.
Yeah, I've just quoted you, Rumpus. He's a liar. Rumpus is saying this has nothing to do with the horizon. I've got a quote from Rumpus. I'll dig it out. I trimmed it out and played it for an audience a while back. Quote, the Rumpus. "You know it's looming because of its position with respect to the horizon." End quote, the Rumpus.
Yeah, that's because looming can occur with respect to the horizon.
Yeah, you said you know it's looming because of its position with respect to the horizon. So the horizon can't be looming, and your looming begs the question of an R value that we've debunked with the Black Swan.
Well, the horizon is loomed up.
No, you can't loom the horizon with respect to the horizon. That's nonsense, doublespeak. You're saying you know the horizon's looming because of its position with respect to the horizon?
No, I was...
Well, that's what horizon's looming would be, because according to you, you know something's looming because its position with respect to the horizon. So you're saying you know the horizon's looming because of its position with respect to the horizon? That's nonsense, Rumpus. You're just being silly.
Can be loomed up.
No, because you know something's looming because of its position with respect to the horizon. End quote, the Rumpus. Well, if you know the horizon's looming, then according to you, you know the horizon's looming because, quote, of its position with respect to the horizon? That makes no sense.
Determine looming otherwise. That's a helpful indicator.
Your looming assumes R. You haven't addressed that yet. Do you want to assume your assumption of R that we've debunked? because you'd need a physical geometric horizon that's not refracted to get this R value.
So loomed.
Do you want to address that? Or maybe talk through me constantly? Choice is yours. I'll give you a couple of minutes to decide.
With respect to the horizon.
Yeah, you're going to talk through me constantly, or maybe address me? Rumpus, coward?
Everything.
Coward? Coward?
I have no idea what you're
Gonna
saying.
talk through me constantly,
because
coward?
You don't let me finish a sentence.
Yeah, now you can tell me that I'm not letting you finish. So we've brought up the issue of R. We've debunked it. It's dead. And we've debunked it by proving it's not physical. And you're now arguing for a not physical horizon, so you can't get R. Because if the horizon's not physical, then you can't derive your R-based refraction with it. Coward.
Therefore, can be loomed with respect to the.
You're just a coward, talking through me constantly, for the audience's benefit. I'm going to give Rumpus 2.5 minutes to listen and address this point that has been raised and put to him. See if he talks through me constantly and maybe claims I'm talking through him.
Is loomed.
So
everything,
R's
including the horizon,
R's
is
dead.
loomed.
Okay, Rumpus, we heard you.
Everything, including the horizon,
We heard you.
is loomed.
We heard you.
Everything,
We heard you.
including
This
the
needs to be a stuck
horizon,
record.
is loomed.
Stuck record.
Everything, including the
We
horizon,
heard you the first
is loomed.
45 times.
No,
please.
no, I don't think you have. Everything, including the horizon, is loomed. Now, I said it now. See, that was easy.
Nathan,
Just give me 5 seconds, and then you can now respond. It's your turn.
Okay, your looming includes an R value that has been debunked by a modus tollens
Not been
argument.
debunked at all.
Oh, I only needed 5 seconds. My God, you needed 50,000 repetitions of the same thing, but you can't let me address you. You
Because you
total
overtalked
coward. What a coward.
It's annoying to be able.
What a coward. I'll try again. So the R value you're using to claim the horizon is moved with respect to the horizon, that would be looming, is using an R value that's been debunked by the following argument, if you can tolerate it and aren't a coward. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959, then every distance to horizon, that would be the physical geometric horizon, can be no more than 1.2. Who's talking
Well,
through
it
me?
depends on how high you are. Depends
It seems that Rumpus is an abject coward. He can't tolerate this debunking of his globe model. He's got to talk through me after objecting whilst repeating the same statement that's also been debunked about 50 times. What a coward. Now, if you're on the globe side right now, I'd be pretty disappointed in your compadre, because I'm just trying to put an argument to him that debunks his assertion that he's made 1,000 times. The horizon's moved with respect to the horizon it's loomed. He said that about 50 times and I'm addressing it, because your refraction value uses R that needs a physical horizon, and you're moving the horizon to a non-physical location with that statement. That's a paradox, my friend. Maybe talk through me non-stop rather than actually addressing it, because you know you've lost. The globe's dead. We've debunked R, and your looming needs R.
all the time. It's dependent on the observer's height.
Yeah, that's based on an R value we've
He's
debunked.
making a massive mistake, Nathan.
The horizon was such and such far away, but you didn't.
Hold on, Brian. Hold on, Brian. Brian, you're making matters worse.
It's dependent on the height.
Yeah, you're making matters worse, Brian.
Well.
Brian.
Oh,
it's dependent on the height of the observer, and you didn't mention that.
Sorry, the dependent on height observer values based on an R that's been debunked. That you won't listen to the argument that I'm trying to put forward.
How?
And you're now interrupting
Okay,
it
how
again.
did
Let's
you
see if you can tolerate modus tollens that he's scared of. So, if the Earth is a sphere, then every distance to horizon, that would be a physical, geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve, can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That would be the observer's height in feet, Rumpus. Sorry, did you say I ignored that? It's a shame you can't listen and are scared of this argument.
Anyway, you say that.
Anyway, you're scared of this argument. We know.
No, not at all. I love it.
Every distance to horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet if we have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon. Now, that is the horizon that is being utilised, scared of the modus tollens argument, ladies and gentlemen,
and that's
to derive your R value.
Can I reply?
I'm going to have to kick him out. He's scared of modus tollens. You scared of this?
You
scared?
finished?
I haven't even got to the end of the argument yet, and you're scared to hear it.
Come on, then. Jesus Christ.
I don't blaspheme here. Just because we've destroyed your globe Earth, now I'm going to crucify it. I'm going to nail that geometric R value that you're using to refract the horizon with respect to the horizon. I'm going to nail that to a cross, and we're all going to watch it die. Now, you don't have to listen to that, but I will say my argument that debunks this assumed R value used to move the horizon. Well, hold on. If you're using R to move the horizon, how are you getting the R? Because that's derived from a physical geometric sphere edge horizon.
Right. Finished. Have you finished? Can I speak now?
I asked a question.
Okay.
Are you going to answer it?
Oh, my God.
I asked a question. You don't need to continually blaspheme. I'm asking a question. I'm asking if you're going to answer it or maybe acknowledge the question. Are you? Maybe you're just going to blaspheme non-stop while I pummel you and crucify an R value that's moving a horizon that needs to be physical to have the horizon move with an R value that it's derived from.
I'm trying to reply to that. I'm trying to reply to that very argument you've just made. The point is that you're going to use an image, a photograph, as an example of this, and of course that's affected by refraction. A geometric horizon is not...
Sorry, the refraction that the R value's been derived from a physical sphere-edge horizon with? Well, that refraction's got an R value that needs a physical horizon, doesn't it?
Refraction.
Yeah, that refraction's got R in it. Standard refraction, terrestrial refraction, that needs R. Well, that R is derived from a physical horizon, and you seem to be moving the horizon with an R value that's derived from a physical horizon to make the horizon be refracted. Well, you can't refract the horizon with R if you can't get R because R needs to make the horizon physical. This is a paradox, Rumpus. You're not addressing it. You're saying I'm not accounting for a fraction that needs a physical horizon to be applied. But you don't want to listen to that because you're scared of the modus tollens argument. You're scared of it. You don't want to listen to it. You want to just bark refraction back at me and ignore the actual argument.
No refraction, Nathan. Don't allow for refraction. It's very...
Well, 7/6 of the radius value derived from a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon formerly known as Earth curve. That refraction.
No, that's standard refraction.
So standard refraction that needs a physical horizon. Yes, I do know which refraction you're using. It's got an R value in it that needs a physical horizon. And you're telling me you're going to use that R value to move the horizon into a non-physical location? Well, then the horizon's not a physical location, Rumpus. But yet your R value needs it to be.
When you're dealing with an apparent horizon that's...
Apparent? But your R value's got a physical geometric horizon, so apparent would be non-physical. So you admit that the horizon's not a physical sphere edge then. It's not a physical horizon, it's apparent, right? Non-physical.
Atmosphere that refracts light.
Yeah, at the rate of R that you need the horizon to be physical to derive the R from. So to get this R value, you need the horizon to be physical. And you're saying, well, with a physical horizon, to get an R value, I'm going to move the horizon to a non-physical location with the R value I got from the physical horizon.
Allowing for refraction.
Well, R-based refraction that you need a physical horizon for. Yeah, we're going round in circles, Fundy. Share your pain.
Horizon. But we've got an apparent horizon that's...
Oh, so we've got two horizons, apparent and geometric.
The one we see... where the sky meets the sea is the apparent horizon. That's determined by refraction.
And is that physical?
Quoted, doesn't allow for refraction.
And does that horizon that we see consist of a physical geometric sphere edge?
It's a relocated sphere edge, but it's...
So it's not physical then? It's in a different position, non-physical. So it's not geometric then?
Physical.
So it's not geometric. Just let's get clarity.
It's another position on
the not geometric.
It's not at the geometric horizon.
So it's not a geometric horizon. Well, then you can't draw a tangent to it to get the R value.
Geometric horizon?
No, we don't have one. You've just told us we don't have a geometric horizon. The one we see isn't that.
Correct.
So therefore, Al-Biruni couldn't measure a tangent point to a physical geometric sphere edge horizon. Earth as a sphere is therefore debunked, because your model asserts that we have a physical geometric sphere edge horizon to block boats and buildings with its physicality. And Al-Biruni derived the R value you're using to move the horizon into a non-physical apparent location. Well, if it's a non-physical location, then it's not Earth curve, because it's not geometric.
He reduced the error between the geometric and the apparent horizon by...
What geometric horizon? We don't have one of those.
Or looking down...
What geometric horizon? We don't have one.
And didn't...
What geometric horizon? We don't have one.
Water level.
What geometric horizon? We don't have one. You've just told us that. Maybe ignore me.
What are you saying? Were you not allowing me to...
Would you?
What? Al-Biruni...
What geometric horizon? We don't have one. You've just told us. The apparent horizon isn't geometric. That's what you've just told us. So what geometric horizon, coward?
The error between the geometric horizon...
What geometric horizon? You've just told us we don't have one.
Well, it's there mathematically, and it's...
Oh, so it's not real? It's just mathematical?
It becomes...
Not real, not physical, not actual. So we don't have an actual Earth curve edge. It's just maths.
It becomes close to the apparent horizon. If
Well, that's not geometric. I don't care how close your maths comes. That's not real.
it becomes close to the apparent horizon if you get up.
What does? The geometric horizon we don't have?
Correct.
We don't have that. So I don't care how close it comes. We don't have one. You've just told us we don't have a geometric horizon. Well, the geometric horizon Rumpus tells us we don't have is marked with an X, labelled horizon in his geometric earth curve maths. It's physical and claimed to be physically blocking things. He also tells us how much it's physically blocking things with a feet and inches value. But he's also now arguing for it being non-physical, non-geometric, not capable of being measured by Al-Biruni, because he needs a tangent line, non-bent, non-refracted, especially not refracted with an R value that used a physical location with a tangent point to get it. So the globe's dead. Earth is obviously and observably flat, and you don't have a geometric, physical sphere edge for a horizon.
It is. It's close to the apparent horizon. If
we don't see one close to it, you've just told me it only exists in maths.
It's close to the apparent horizon.
It only exists in maths. We don't have it close to it. We can't see it. It's not within a few inches. It's not even there. How can it be close to it? It's not in close proximity. It only exists in maths. That would be your Earth curve edge horizon. Only exists in maths.
And it's as close to the apparent horizon as you need it to be. Within 5.
Close to it? Give it me within inches.
No, it depends. That depends on your height.
No. Close to it, you can't have a physical geometric sphere edge that only exists in maths being close to, within close proximity to, something that actually is seen and is non-physical. That's our horizon. Because your geometric horizon only exists in maths.
Horizon. And if you go up nice and high, it's very close to the apparent horizon.
How close? Give it to me within feet.
It's within 5%.
5%? You're saying within 5% of something we see is something that we don't see.
Well, you don't see it as a horizon. It's there.
What don't we see? Earth curve, edge, horizon, physical, geometric. We don't see that.
But people.
Sorry, you're saying we don't see geometric sphere, edge, horizon?
The sea.
Sorry, I'm trying to get clarity on what we don't see. Or I'll just give it as you constantly interrupt me. So we don't see a physical geometric sphere edge.
Where the sky meets the sea, we call that...
Yeah, that's a horizon, and it's apparent. It's not physical or geometric, according to you.
Very close to the geometric horizon.
Which only exists in the maths, so it's not close to it. You can't give it me within feet and inches because we've only got one horizon, and your geometric Earth curve horizon only exists in maths.
And it's very close to the apparent horizon.
How close in feet and inches when we've only got one horizon?
Within 5%.
Within 5%? So you're saying we can see a geometric horizon within 5% of the one we do see?
Well, when you say see the geometric horizon, it doesn't...
I mean, do we see Earth curve?
The apparent horizon is caused by Earth curve.
Caused by? So the apparent horizon is caused by a physical horizon that we don't see?
Correct.
Well, if we don't see it, how did Al-Biruni measure it?
You do see it. You do see it. You do.
Sorry, now we do see it. So where do we see the geometric horizon then?
The geometric horizon is closer to you than the apparent horizon.
And we can see it because it's within 5% of something, even though we can't actually see it.
Well, you can see it. It's just...
So we can see a geometric sphere edge horizon. So we can see Earth curve.
Of course you can see Earth curve.
Show me a geometric sphere edge horizon.
Okay, any picture you take of a horizon will it have the apparent horizon in it and just...
Apparent means not actual. Physical geometric, not apparent, that means not actual.
Listen, you're interrupting.
Do you not understand what apparent means? Do I need to educate you as a flat earther?
I know you're frightened of my...
Do you need me to educate you? I'm not frightened. Do you not know what apparent means?
I know you don't want me to give...
Scaredy cat doesn't know what apparent means and is now obfuscating it.
You look
Do you need me to educate you on what apparent means, coward?
And you see a horizon...
Do you know what apparent means?
And the geometric horizon...
Sorry, we don't see a geometric horizon. It's apparent. Apparent means not actual, appearing but not actually. You don't know what apparent means. You're thick.
It doesn't look like a horizon.
You're completely thick. You came here accusing Brian of being stupid. Yet in reality, you don't know what apparent means. That means not actual, not physical, not geometric.
Where the sea meets the sky.
Yeah, that's apparent location, not physical, not geometric.
Closer to you, but it doesn't look. There's nothing about it visually that makes it look like a horizon, because it's not. The apparent horizon is what visually looks like a horizon, and that's a little bit further away than geometric horizon. But if you're up nice and
A
high,
little bit further away,
But
give it me in
geometrical
feet,
horizon,
give it me in inches, give it me in an actual physical measurement for the second horizon we don't see.
but it's a percentage.
A percentage is a mathematical value, not something we see. Geometric is Earth curve physical horizon. Where do we see it?
You see the geometric horizon slightly closer to you than the apparent horizon, but it doesn't.
Give it me in inches and feet. How much closer is this second horizon?
It's about 5% closer.
We only have one horizon. The horizon in your geometric sphere edge mathematics is physical. The horizon we actually see is apparent. That's not physical. Now you're saying the physical horizon can be seen within 5% of the apparent horizon. Well, I've got a horizon on screen for my audience now. Show me where, within 5% of this horizon, we can see a physical second horizon.
Listed to you. Do you remember all the horizons that QE listed to you from the...
I've only got one on screen, and you're telling me there's a second non-visible, only existing in maths, geometric, physical, sphere edge horizon that's within 5% of the one on screen. Where is it?
Okay, hold on. Where's it on screen? Hold on, let me get the... I've lost...
There's only one horizon. There's not a second geometric one, you clown.
Let me go and find
Do you think when you look for it, you're going to see a second horizon that's geometric within 5%?
Feel what you're seeing.
Are you thick? The globe-believing moron thinks we've got two horizons.
We need to go and have a look. What
for the second one that we can't see? We haven't got a geometric sphere edge for a horizon. The only horizon we see, and Rumpus has admitted it on this live stream, is apparent. Now, apparent means appearing, but not actual. And they're geometric, physical, sphere edge horizon, which Rumpus says only exists in the maths, according to him, is within 5% of the horizon we see. Now, at that point, Rumpus believes we have two horizons.
Tell me what photograph you're referring me to?
The one that's on screen for over 100 people, 136 people can see that there's only one horizon, and the horizon in their Earth curve maths is physical and geometric. But Rumpus makes it plain that doesn't exist in reality, we don't see it. He also says we can see it within 5% of the one that's not actual, apparent, where the sky appears to meet the ground. Apparently, there's also a second one within 5% of that.
Casting this image from space, are we, of the horizon?
Space is fake. That would be an area that gas would fill. Anyway, there's not two horizons. There is no geometric horizon within 5% of the one we see.
Two visual ones, Nathan. There's not two visual ones. This is what you don't...
So there isn't a geometric physical Earth curve edge horizon then? We can't see that?
There's the visual one, which we call the apparent horizon.
And that's not geometric. So we do not see a geometric horizon. There's only one. The one we see isn't a physical geometric sphere edge. We can't see that.
But to understand what I'm saying...
Oh, I don't understand. Yeah, you told me that there was a second geometric sphere edge that mathematically, only mathematically, comes within 5% of the one we see. And when I ask you to show it me, you make it explicitly clear. We don't see a physical geometric sphere edge Earth curve horizon. That's only within 5% on paper in maths. But we don't see it. We would see it. My modus tollens argument made it explicitly clear how and where we would see it if it was real. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959, then every distance to horizon could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height, Rumpus, in feet. And what do you know? We can show that the horizon is way beyond the physical limitations of a geometric sphere edge. That's called a black swan, because we only have one horizon, and the horizon marked with an X and labelled horizon in their geometric sphere edge mathematics is absolutely, unequivocally physical and geometric. What we have in reality, admitted by Rumpus, is a not actual location, a position where the sky appears to meet the ground. Definitely not a physical sphere edge. Definitely not an Earth curve. Definitely not something that boats are going to fall over in physicality. Definitely not something that's going to have an attributable feet and inches value to tell you how much has been blocking it at the bottom with its physical geometric nature. Because the horizon, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely, unequivocally not physical. And they know it. But they'll tell you how the geometric Earth curve exists in the maths, because that's the only place it does exist. Earth curve isn't the horizon. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you tuned in, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, smash the super chat and all that good stuff. Also, link below this video, there is a link to get £50 back for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
In an equation.
Yeah.
Man, dude, what the? At the end, that was nuts, dude. I was like, dude, I was trying to get him to stop. He wouldn't.
He needs to chant. He needs to chant through every word I say, because what I'm doing is crucifying his globe belief by way of the fact we don't have a sphere edge for a horizon. It's apparent, not physical. He needs to talk through every word of that, because it's demolishing his globe faith.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Right. That's. Yeah, I had to mute him, dude, at the end, dude. I was like, nope.
Yeah, he's going to chant through every word of that.
It's just audio chaos.
Yeah, cause audio chaos when Modus Tollens and the Black Swan comes up. Yeah, that's all they've got. Make sure the audience doesn't hear how the Earth hasn't got a sphere edge.
Dude, he wouldn't even let you answer.
Yeah, the audience got to hear it. They got to hear him say
said
the
it
same
enough
thing
times.
over and over and over and over and over. The horizon's refracted. The horizon's refracted. The horizon's refracted. Yeah, really? What, with an R value that's debunked with a black swan? If you move the horizon from a physical location, as asserted in your maths, then how are you getting the R value to move it with the R value? You're saying the position isn't physical? Well, you couldn't get the R value to move it then. Further to that, he's on record saying, we know it's looming because of its position with respect to the horizon. Why? Well, because their horizon at the time was being asserted to block things with a feet and inches value, and its very physical nature in geometry. But when we demonstrate that they haven't got a physical geometric sphere edge, it's beyond the capabilities of a sphere, well, then we don't have it, it's refracted, and the value I'll use to move it is the value we got from the sphere edge.
Yeah. I like how he
even said that it's calculated.
Yeah. I like how he avoided what I was stating too, though. He just moved the goalpost to a totally it was amazing.
Nathan, I'm sorry for stepping in on it in the middle of it. I wouldn't normally do that. I normally keep quiet.
That's all good.
But what he had done, I understand it is really annoying when you're trying to debate with someone and someone else is coming in at the side. The only reason I did that, I was trying to do it before I got into the depth of the debate with you and Rumpus, was that he was trying to claim just before that point, when he first started arguing about looming, he was trying to claim looming is possible to calculate. It's possible to calculate looming without an R value. So who cares? Let them to flat out. Do you know what I mean? Because without the R value, then looming means nothing as far as the globe goes. You know, because he doesn't have an R value, so he doesn't have a geometrical horizon, doesn't have anything. So I wanted to put that to him, because all he can say is, no, it does involve an R value. Then where's your R value? Nothing. You know what I mean? He was trying to hold two positions at one time.
Of course. Well, it's a refractive effect. Well, what's the refractive effect? Well, terrestrial refraction. He made it explicitly clear. Well, terrestrial refraction is based on a physical geometric sphere edge horizon. That's R. That's what the R value is. Well, you're going to take that R value and the position, the tangent point, that horizon and its physical nature, and move it to a non-physical location with the value derived from the physical location. So where'd you get the physical location then? It's non-physical. Well, where did you get your R value from? You couldn't measure it if the horizon's not physical, and the horizon isn't physical. That's what this all boils down to. Their argument starts and ends at the horizon. A physical horizon. A horizon they've got boats falling over. Isn't that sounding familiar to any flatties out there that are laughed at and mocked for having boats falling over a pizza pie? Well, no, that's because they've got boats falling over a physical horizon, when the horizon we experience in reality most definitely is not physical.
Right. That's why I was asking you that question, Nathan. Brainstorming a little bit, I guess. The limit. There is no limit. There should be a limit of amount you can see on a fixed horizon.
Yeah, that's modus tollens. Every distance to horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's the physical limitation that an edge that's blocking stuff, exactly as they assert it does, would give you. And they calculate how much that physical obstruction is going to block stuff and tell us it's blocking things until it's beyond its physical limitations, and then it's going to be moved with the R value that was used prior to move the targets with respect to the horizon. That's a physical edge blocking them. And when it's blocked a bit more or a bit less than we would hope, then we'll move things with R with respect to the horizon. What's that? The horizon itself is now in a non-capable of physical sphere edge possibility position. Or we'll move that then with the same R that we got from the horizon being physical in the first place, and our claim that it's physically blocking stuff. Well, some days it doesn't need to be physically blocking stuff at a sphere edge. Some days it can be moved with the sphere edge measurement into a different position. Like, that's absurd.
Yeah. It definitely is. They just keep moving the goalpost, dude. That's all they keep doing.
So basically, the 11th century, Al-Biruni saw something, and in the 21st century, we could only say, as Rumpa said, well, it's within 5%, but we can't see what Al-Biruni saw.
That
see what
claim,
Al-Biruni
though,
saw.
that 5% claim, I've heard him making that before. How can his geometric horizon be within 5% of the apparent horizon? But the apparent horizon is never in a fixed location. He even stated himself it changes with the weather.
It isn't a fixed location. If you're at a particular height, it's in a fixed location, you moron.
Is the geometric horizon within 5% of the Black Swan photograph horizon, apparent horizon?
No, because of refraction.
Oh, so it's not within 5%. So even that claim which you made is absolute bollocks. And we can demonstrate it as bollocks with one picture. So it's not within 5%. No, it's not within 5%, Rumpus. Even if it was, you couldn't show it. It wasn't on screen. You can't see a geometric horizon. It's not within 5% of anything, you clown.
Right, listen.
Nah, you listen to me. We've only got one horizon. And the horizon in your Earth curve maths is physical and geometric. You used to tell us how much its physicality blocks stuff.
Do you think I'm claiming?
Do you think my nuts taste salty? They do to most of the fundies that come here. Because we only have one horizon and yours is geometric.
Do you think I'm claiming there are...
I think you're stupid. I think you think we've got two horizons.
I'm claiming there are two visual horizons.
Yeah, you've got a geometric sphere edge that you used to claim blocks stuff.
Let's try it again. Do you think I'm claiming there are...
Yeah, I heard you and now I'm answering. Maybe you need to say it 5 more times to cowardly ignore every word I respond to you with. Yeah, you do believe there's two horizons. One of them's marked with an X and labelled horizon in your geometric Earth curve maths, and you think it comes within 5% of the one we see. So yeah, you definitely think we've got two horizons. There's one that's visual, it's apparent. The other one's geometric Earth curve, and we don't see that.
Now speak, Rumpus. Jeez, dude.
Right, so you don't think I'm claiming there are two visual horizons?
You've got one marked with an X labelled horizon that you used to tell us got in the way of stuff. And you gave us a feet and inches value for how much it's physically blocking things. That would be a physical horizon, geometric. And you've also got one you told us today.
Nathan,
oh, coward! Coward bitch! Yeah, they are salty, aren't they, Rumpus?
Nathan, I told
Proper
you that
salty. That's right, yeah, salty. Yeah, we have definitely got you asserting that we've got a physical horizon that blocks stuff. You used to tell us how many feet and inches it blocks stuff with. That's a physical geometric sphere edge horizon called Earth curve. It's marked with an X labelled horizon in your Earth curve mathematics. That's your horizon, an Earth curve edge. But we've also got a not actual physical horizon, an apparent location where the sky appears to meet the ground. That's the one we actually see. Now, you think there's another one, the one you used to say blocks stuff, and you think it comes within 5%.
That's Mick West's diagram of the geometric horizon and
Oh, the one we don't see? The geometric second horizon that used to block stuff, that one? Oh, what? Are you going to challenge me that I think you've got two horizons? Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one that was very much punted as Earth curve edge.
Mick West's diagram only shows the geometric horizon.
We don't have one. The one we see isn't an Earth curve edge. The one in Mick West's maths is Earth curve edge. And you used to fight and tell us how much it was blocking stuff with a feet and inches value that ignored perspective. Now you're telling us that that's only the geometric horizon that doesn't exist in reality. We know.
The apparent horizon is the one caused by refraction. The geometric...
Refraction's using an R value derived from a physical sphere edge horizon, though, isn't it?
The apparent horizon is also a physical thing.
The apparent horizon is non-physical. It's an apparent location where the sky appears to meet the ground. The sky doesn't actually meet the ground. Are you thick? Oh, my bad. We went over this and he rumpused it. He doesn't know what apparent means. He's thick. My God, you're stupid, Rumpus. You don't know what apparent means, you stupid idiot.
There is a physical location associated with the apparent horizon. So when you look out...
Excellent. We've got the black swan on screen. Where is it?
And you see...
It's on screen. On screen. On screen.
That's a physical location.
On screen for the audience. Rumpus doesn't want to listen to it because he's a coward, and it was put to him with modus ponens earlier. Where is that?
Sentence.
Oh, right. Where is that physical location? I've got the black swan on screen right now. Where is it?
The physical location of what? The apparent horizon?
No, apparent doesn't mean physical. You don't know what apparent means, you thick moron. Rumpus is thick, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't know what apparent means. Third time I've had to point that out. Apparent doesn't mean physical, Dumbo.
Right, moron. If you're looking at...
No, you won't be calling me a moron when I point out that you asking me where the physical apparent location is an oxymoron. You can't be physical and apparent at the same time. It's a non-physical horizon that we're talking about. Not a physical geometric sphere edge as you require, marked with an X in Mick West's maths. Used to be claimed to be blocking stuff with a feet and inches value. Now that second physical horizon that used to block stuff, where is it in the black swan?
Man, he just... Let him answer, Rumpus.
He deafens himself the moment you mute him.
Did someone mute him? Oh no, he was a total coward. Did. He couldn't cope with modus ponens and the black swan argument,
right,
so he had to rumpus every
the
word.
horizon that we see is the apparent horizon?
I'm gonna mute you again, dude. Dude, let him answer.
No, I am never able to finish a single sentence, you moron. He's the guy who does the over-talking.
That's why.
No, I am never allowed to finish a sentence. And
Yeah, let's make that about Rumpus's position on my show where I don't give a toss about his bleatings about how he's treated. I couldn't care less. Meanwhile, we only have one horizon. The horizon in the geometric sphere edge Earth curve maths is physical and geometric. It just doesn't exist in reality.
Right.
Nathan, could I present something to Rumpus and ask him to help me plot where the horizon is? I'd like to test his theory.
And the apparent horizon is also a physical location.
Apparent means appearing, but not actual. You're stupid. You don't understand what apparent means.
Don't talk to me again.
Because you don't know what apparent means. You're thick. You're thick. Apparent. Look it up. Appearing, but not actual.
The thing you've got, because you can't cope with the reality. And
you don't know what apparent means. You're thick.
I do. And
it means appearing, but not actual. The apparent location where the sky meets the ground isn't the actual physical location where the sky meets the ground, because the sky doesn't meet the ground. That's why they use the word apparent. You just don't know what apparent means and need to constantly talk through me while I school you. Because you're thick. You don't know what apparent means. You think apparent means physical. You're thick.
Why don't you take it in turns?
Nathan,
and then people...
Wait, you suck my balls.
On the screen, please.
You suck on my chocolate salty balls while I tell you that you don't know what apparent means. I know what apparent means. It doesn't mean physical.
He can't cope with it.
Yeah, you're a coward. I'm saying an argument. I'm putting an argument to you. You don't know what apparent means. You think it means physical, and it doesn't.
Because he was a moron.
Yeah, now you're just attacking me personally with ad homs that don't address my argument. My argument is Rumpus doesn't know what apparent means. He's already detailed what apparent means, but now he's simultaneously saying apparent means physical. It doesn't.
He just did it.
Nathan,
again.
can I try testing this with Rumpus, please?
Sure.
Rumpus, Nathan, screen share if you would. Rumpus, would you get on screen what Nathan's going to be screen sharing, please?
I can't do that for him. He's in Discord.
He can't even hear you. He deafened himself.
He's a coward.
Yeah, that's what he does when he doesn't want to hear anything. He deafens.
Exactly.
Well, put it on anyway, because I'm going to make a claim and I want Rumpus to prove me wrong.
Okay.
Well, I'm trying to moderate. I'm trying, my best here, unbiasedly, trying to be unbiased. But man, it's hilarious, dude. It's
you
hilarious.
can't moderate Rumpus. He's only here to cause a disturbance. That's his name. Rumpus means disturbance. So what he's here to do is to disturb. That's his purpose.
He never listens.
No,
he just
said the same thing
over
50 times so that he doesn't have to listen to what's being responded to what he said and has been heard. And after he said 50,000 times the thing that you've heard and want to respond to, he'll accuse you of interrupting him. Anyway, Sleeping Warrior's got his screen presented, so go ahead, Sleeping Warrior.
Okay, so I'm hoping that Rumpus can hear. I'm going to pretend as though he can hear, and I'm going to carry on. This is a nighttime lakeside observation of a laser presented a distance away, a known distance away. And I'm going to assert that the horizon is somewhere in between the blue laser that's presented on screen and the reflection of the blue laser. Now, I don't know exactly where it is to the pixel, as Rumpus says, but it's somewhere in the middle here. And I'm going to say it's about there. Might be a pixel north or a pixel south or up or down or whatever, but it's around about that position because we can see the reflection of the laser on the surface of the water. The problem is the laser in question is only about a foot off the water. And the camera that's looking at the laser is also a foot off the water. Well, here's the killer bit. It's 21 miles away. Now, at 21 miles away, the horizon is only, from 1 foot above the horizon, the observer height, it's about 3 miles away, but the target is at 21. Now, not only are we seeing the target, and I know that Rumpus is going to claim that that's because of refraction bringing it back up, I'd like him to address the reflection on the water. So we know how far away it is. We see the reflection of the laser on the water. Please explain the reflection, Rumpus.
Yeah, can't
It's not even in here. Are you sharing it on anything?
Yeah, it's on the recording.
We can.
Yeah, it's on. If you pick up the live feed, you're not going to get it on the live feed now. It's finished, but it's basically a black screen with a blue dot in the middle and a reflected blue dot underneath, and it shows that the reflection of the laser is being received by the camera, bouncing off the surface of the water. Now we know that they say that the light drops behind the Earth, the curve of the Earth, and it gets loomed back into existence. But I want to know about the reflection of the laser underneath because we know where the horizon's meant to be. It's a mile away, 1 point whatever miles away it is, or is it 3 miles, whatever, but it's 21 miles away, the source light, and we're seeing the reflection of the source light underneath. So I just like that explaining. It's fantastically powerful for this argument of apparent horizon, an actual horizon, because if it's only an apparent horizon, not an actual horizon, then we need to have an explanation for why there's an apparent reflection. Where does that come from?
Right. Are you stating I dropped a photo in the live stream? Is that what you're talking about right there? 21 miles away?
Yeah, it's Taboo Conspiracy, and I can't remember the other guy's name now.
Yep,
But
Taboo.
yeah.
I think his name's Ben. Pretty
Ben
cool
is-
dude.
Ben's Taboo Conspiracy, yes.
Yeah, it's a fantastic observation because it needs explanation.
Yes, it does, dude. They'll claim refraction is bringing the laser up, but come on, explain how is it shining off the water as well?
The explanation is the Earth is not a sphere.
It can't be.
Yeah, I know. There's a more intuitive one, right?
Someone, hold on. Someone summarize why it can't be and what it proves, or I will.
Someone summarize why what can't be.
Right. This observation is not possible on a curved surface because you've got a reflection. Even if they assert that the light's being bent at the presupposed R value that requires a physical geometric sphere edge to measure it, to move it, well, if you're using that R value to bend the target with respect to Antony's imaginary horizon, well, okay, even if you accept that, how do you bend the refracted light in reflection around something that it's bending around? Now, to answer that, to summarise, you can't. This is an example that is only possible on a flat surface. only possible.
Now, it is the best thing about it, because we know that it's going through, it's reflecting off another medium, right? We can legitimately apply Snell's law because the angle of refraction is equal to the angle of incidence, right? So whatever that angle is, it's bouncing off the medium, and there is a medium change, a hard boundary change. So we can apply Snell's law, and when we apply Snell's law, guess where it puts the horizon on a ball? The horizon's meant to be a mile or two from the camera, but where's it picking that light up? How's that going to do? Because when it's bouncing off the other side of the sphere behind the ball, it's going to have to make about 6 bounces to stay in that position, because you've got to account for where the horizon's meant to be, the geographic horizon, and it's so close to us that how are they going to get that light to bend around the sphere, bounce off the surface, and then back into the eye without drawing like zigzag, like W's for the pathway?
Yeah, but I actually thought what Nathan was going to say. I never hardly ever do this, but Nathan, you were wrong. The reason that is not possible on a sphere is because there is no physical geometric horizon for that sphere to exist.
Indeed, yes, and I'm glad you corrected me. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Also, linked below this video is a link to get £50 back for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.